I'm curious to see what Creative Assembly's DLC plans are post Thrones of Decay. I would imagine they probably changed since they released that roadmap way back when. Unfortunately, I don't think the Ogres are slated for an update anytime soon still. I don't know, I could be surprised when they do release their plans post Thrones of Decay, but we'll see. For the time being, the Ogres will have to suffer on with the roster they have, which is definitely a decent one. I mean, it's not like the Ogres are a bad faction by any means, but they are certainly predictable, and it's not like I would want them necessarily to add like a bunch of new Noblar units. But anyway, let's just talk about the match in front of us, shall we? This one from Teddy Spaghetti. We've got Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw, some Lead Belchers, and the Regiment of Renown Man-Eater Pistols, those Powder Guts. Looks like a mix of bulls. Yep, couple of bulls here with some trappers in the front. Lots of Noblars, so definitely a Noblar horde on this one. Sky Striders, Crushers, Great Weapons for an elite sweeper there. We've got some Saber Tusks sweeping the flank there, some on the near flank here. So it's quite a wide build, especially on the Noblar front. A lot of unit models facing off against the Wood Elves. They themselves have an Eternal Guard front line here with an Eternal Guard second line. Spellsinger of Life, and Orion Zotes with the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, and more Zotes. Yes, double Zotes. All anti-large. Makes a lot of sense. Although, technically this is not tournament legal, you would have to change this back line of Eternal Guards out for War Dancers with Spears, which I think would honestly probably be advisable anyway. But we're going to see some Zotes on Sky Striders here. The Zotes, despite their self-buffs, are going to absolutely get clomped by Sky Striders, I would imagine. Maybe not, actually. It ends up being a lot closer than I thought it would be, perhaps. The Sky Striders are dampened, so I don't... Do they actually have magic attack space? I don't believe so. They do have Frostbite, but eventually their value starts to tell, especially as they get a Troll Guts there to swing things in their favor. Wild Hunters also collapse those two Saber Tusks as the front line engagement gets underway. I didn't really highlight it because it's just Noblars fighting Eternal Guards, but I guess we'll get in close and take a look here. As Powder Guts get through, they're going to pop some shots on the Zotes as well, try and swing that fight even further. Yeah, the areas where the Bulls are going to go slightly better, although the Bulls won't trade great. As long as they have Noblar support, they'll do okay, but like here, a little bit of weird engagement. The Noblars are like throwing knives at the one unit while they're getting attacked in the back by another unit of Eternal Guard. It's just a little bit weird, but anyway. Yeah, one of these Eternal Guards here, the Winterheart Guards, Regiment of Renown, does manage to bust through and get at those Lead Belchers in the second line, pressure them kind of away, not allow them to keep shooting. Zotes also collapse on the Powder Guts, which their Regiment of Renown ability will help them to survive this fight, if not win it. Although they are going to run regardless. A little bit of healing on the Wood Elves side as the Sky Striders come for another engagement. Gonna clobber through some of those Eternal Guards, but not necessarily wanting to stay and fight. Zotes with support, especially Orion himself, who is an anti-large beast, mind. Definitely not the best engagement for them, so they're going to nope out of that wisely and leave the Bulls to their fate. As Orion whips his spear out, gonna lance some Bulls, or Boils, I don't know. There's a pun there, but I think I flubbed it. Anyway. Yes. What do we got here? Some more casts going, I would imagine. Some Troll Guts, yep, on the Powder Guts. Getting all the guts going there to heal them back up. And, again, I apologize. I don't know what's with me today. Zotes moving through as well, looking to sweep that back line, get on those Lead Belchers, shut them down. They had shut down already, those two Saber Tusks out on the flank there. So, yeah, just a kind of very conventional land battle. It's been nice to see sometimes. Yeah, we'll keep the wide view as there's quite a bit going on now. The Dismember being used on the Zotes, they get caught, not able to catch the Lead Belchers. Meanwhile, Orion terrifying away these Bulls here, but also losing out on his own support as Wild Hunters of Kurnos and other various units route away. He does have some Eternal Guards with shields here closing on the Powder Guts, though. They're going to pressure them somewhat, but the Ogre's mobility will definitely come into play here against this very heavy infantry-based force for the Wood Elves, right? Like, at this point, besides the Zotes and Orion, there's really not a lot of mobility. Spellsinger of Life is hanging around, though, for some additional healing, so we see a little Earth Blood there on Orion and some of those Eternal Guards in the center. The Flesh to Stone also helping the Zotes mitigate a lot of that damage as they try and come through. Oh, yeah, they had the Lead Belchers basically in the open field. Unfortunately, they are being slowed heavily. Well, not that heavily, but still. Gonna try and come in here and charge. I'm not really sure. I think they issued, yeah, an attack order on the Lord there, but definitely should have stayed committed to those lead belchers. Probably could have caught them. That said, they're in a position now where they've got the Sky Striders to protect them. The Man-Eaters are also in Overwatch position here, so the Zotes definitely have their work cut out for them. Like I said, some War Dancers with Azrai Spears, especially due to the extra speed, just the fact that they can kind of chase Ogre units as they're pulling away and get those free hits, right? Very important. But the Zotes are going to try their best here to sustain through this fight. They can only do so much due to their kind of lowish stats. But they're doing some damage here, certainly. The Sky Strider's definitely eating it. Orion also getting in here himself. Oh, yeah. Orion's actually surprisingly small on a behemoth engagement like this, but does manage to lance one down nonetheless. Also taking some fire from the Man-Eater pistols here. He's going to run over there and smack a few around. Looks like they're about to get a Troll Guts, another one, to try and heal them back up. Very efficient choice of healing here on these high-value units. A lot of Eternal Guards still scattered around, but they're being very well managed by the Noblars, it must be said. The numbers game is just not going well in the Wood Elves' favor. Just generally Elves, whether they be High Elves, Wood Elves, or Dark Elves. Kind of somewhat weak to numbers. Dark Elves probably the least of the three, but Orion gonna try his best. He is an absolute Chad and a full-on tank and can survive well into this late game here. The problem is if he doesn't have any support, he can't really do too much. The Zotes might have wanted to save at Earthblood, kind of combo up the two of them together and use it jointly and then charge in, but still, the healing will be welcome, of course, on Orion. But you could hit all three of these units with that healing at once, would be good. But the Powder Guts, man, they charge in and just wipe the Zotes in melee, which isn't really too surprising. They're one of the best hybrid units in the game, after all. Maybe the best individually, certainly one of the most expensive. But I love the one Zote just kind of smacking his butt, just then running goodbye, like, alright, peace out, I'm shattered. But just send a message. Yeah. Yeah, the Warriors are rallying, indeed. Got some Noblars coming back here. And, I mean, besides the Powder Guts, the Wood Elves have actually done a pretty decent job in finishing off a lot of these units. I mean, credit to Teddy Spaghetti here. His healing is largely what sustained these Powder Guts, right? Another Troll Guts coming in there, probably going to heal cap them. So he's been dedicating his healing pretty much exclusively to them. I don't know, might have got one or two on the Sky Striders as well. I didn't catch that, but they're pretty much dealt with, right? So as one major threat for the Wood Elves they were able to finish. It's just weren't quite able to finish off these. The Lead Belchers also, despite being threatened at one point, still all their unit models online. Well, almost all their unit models online. 170 kills, 1,200 damage value. They have absolutely savaged this staunch line of Wood Elven spears. So, unfortunately, they definitely impacted this battle. I mean, could you imagine if there were, you know, a couple more units of these Eternal Guards still hanging around, reasonably healthy, able to support in this late game? Might be enough to make a difference here. As it is right now, though, Orion's going to have a pretty tough task, pretty tall order in trying to finish this thing off on his own. I say on his own. He does have some supporting elements left, but it's pretty much hopeless at this point, especially with the Lead Belchers being able to blast anything that approaches, like this one poor unit of Eternal Guard that got a little bit out of position. Completely fresh still, but yeah, those Lead Belchers, man, add another like 400-ish, 500 gold to their damage value just for taking out this unit, right? If they're able to fully take them out. They probably won't be able to fully take them out, but still able to deal significant damage to them. Powder Guts also going to be shooting in a little bit more on Orion, who is himself quickly approaching his healing cap, so balance of power still shows pretty even right now. I don't know, I guess it's possible if Orion could actually, like, snipe out this Slaughtermaster, or finish any of these high-value targets, really, and start to kind of clean them up one by one. It would definitely go a long way into kind of stabilizing things here, but you can see these Noblars getting in here, shooting in the back of those Eternal Guards, and as those Eternal Guards take damage, balance of power is going to tip more and more in favor of these big ol' ogres. Yeah, Powder Gut's gonna smack the Spell Singer a bit. Decent amount of HP left still there, but how much is it gonna end up mattering? Orion charges in here, going to use his terror against some of those Gnoblars, but the thing is that Slaughtermaster still so much Winds of Magic left, can continue Troll Gutsing not only himself, but other high-value targets. Even these Lead Belchers, well, not really a lot of point at this point, considering they're pretty much out of ammunition, so yeah, just using it on himself seems like the wisest thing. But he does get into a 1v1 here with Orion, at least for a minute. I say 1v1, he's still getting pelted in the back by throwing daggers. Powder Guts then show up to really make it just a completely unfair fight. And like I said, Orion will be able to tank this out for quite some time. Will be able to do a lot of damage in the process in return. But also does kind of get bullied a little bit en masse here. It kind of gets knocked around. If I get the unit banners out of the way, you can see how often he's getting staggered and knocked to the ground here by just the massive ogres that he's trying to fight. So it's unfortunate. Leads to him not getting as much damage as he otherwise would, which is again why it's so important to keep him with support so that he can have those other units taking hits for him and dishing damage. But yeah, I have to say, for the Wood Elf player here, which name is 0 out of 10, I have to say. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with just the staunch line of spears, but again, I do think having some War Dancers, not only for the speed, but for the other utility benefits would have been really nice here. Or you could also take some cheap archers, that would definitely help. I mean, he certainly had the mobility advantage, at least initially, to kind of manage the Saber-Tusk packs, right? And then really all had to deal with was the Sky Striders. So archers would have been relatively safe to try and pelt in at a distance at some of these higher value targets and shred them completely with arrows, which Wood Elf arrows, especially if you take quite a few of the cheap ones, can be very good. Or you take some of the elites and just pinpoint, you know, certain targets. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Certainly an interesting matchup, and I have to say, Teddy Spaghetti here executed his Gnoblar horde here fairly well. A lot of the Gnoblars end up paying for themselves, and then some. Yeah, the high-end units also just do a great job of accruing value. I mean, there's a decent amount of healing for the Wood Elves build, so you would expect some inflated values across the board, but yeah, even for the Wood Elves themselves, Orion gets great value. The Zotes both pretty much pay for themselves. Wild Hunters Chronos have a little bit of a rougher time there, and I mean, the Eternal Guard's a mixed bag. Some of them just get smashed. Some of them are pay for themselves. I guess that's why you take so many, but again, I think it'd benefit to just kind of maybe rethink this build a little bit and take a little bit more tactical flexibility, and maybe even some, I don't know, I feel like Blade Riders probably don't do enough bow damage to justify themselves here, because in melee, I guess they'd maybe help you chase some routing units. I don't know. Again, Wood Elf experts weigh in. I know there's a few of you out there, but that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.